Hey everyone, Scott Tottenham here from the Health Classroom. This school year I'm spotlighting some children's picture books that I repurposed for use at the 8th grade level. The basic idea is to use some read alouds to supplement the content and life skills that we work on with the middle school students. Oftentimes picture books have simple messages that are great for readers of all ages. The older teens might act too cool for a children's story, but I noticed once we get started, almost the entire classroom is paying attention and enjoying not just the story, but the images. These can provide a great connection to some of the topics that come up week to week. The ultimate goal, of course, is for the older students to have a good takeaway. Can they apply some of the lessons of the story in their own life? Sometimes the students are reminded of when they read these exact stories as a younger kid, and that sparks the memory, just furthering the impact of the read aloud. Let's talk a few logistics before diving into this specific title. In addition to having the actual hard copy of the book in the classroom as I read aloud, I also like to project the images of the story on the screen so that no matter where students are sitting in the classroom, they can view and enjoy. Generally, a read aloud video can be found on YouTube, but I like to read it in my own voice so that students can experience the story right here in real time. My pacing is important, so I don't go too fast where some of the concepts are missed, but also I don't go too slow since I am working with slightly older students. My tone and inflection matters, so that when I'm reading, there's the emotion that comes across. If there's voices to do, I might even do some of those too without going over the top. I don't want to take away from the story, after all. One final logistic that I want to point out is that I share the video link on Google Classroom so that students can watch and enjoy on their own time afterwards. Sometimes I even share it with family members or siblings at home. That brings us to our spotlight title, which is I Am Human by Susan Verde, illustrated by Peter Reynolds. Susan Verde has a bunch of titles in this series. This was the first one, a New York Times bestseller, but she also has other titles like I Am Love and I Am Peace and I Am Me. They're all worth looking into. This one, I Am Human, the subtitle is A Book of Empathy, which you can hear right away means I use this in conjunction with a social health unit. So anyone working with social emotional learning, this book of empathy and compassion, this one might be for you. I would put this one at a slightly younger reading level, and I even tell the students that ahead of time as we're doing the read aloud. Nonetheless, the simple sentences and simple messages in the story, they work great, and they also work really well in conjunction with the illustrations. Peter Reynolds has published a lot of books on his own. So let's dive in. I Am Human, a book of empathy. It starts off like this. I was born, a miracle. One of billions, but unique. I am human. I am always learning. I'm finding my way and choosing my path on this incredible journey. I have big dreams. I see possibility. A nice introduction, right? And we're going to hear that phrase, I am human, throughout the book. The book goes on to include some things a human can do and feel, like curiosity and wonder. And then this page hits that I especially like with the 8th graders. Being human means I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I can hurt others with my words, my actions, and even my silence. I can be hurt too. Look at that, pretty great, right? This is not just a book of empathy, it's got a tinge of vulnerability in the message as well. From there, the narrator in first person goes on to explain some feelings like fear and sadness, but some other concepts like thoughtfulness, kindness, equality, and compassion. Towards the end, it gets to this great page with all these different faces and all these different colors. It says, I am not alone. I am connected to my friends, to my family, to the world. We are all humans together. I won't read the whole story for copyright reasons and also so you can enjoy on your own. I Am Human, a Book of Empathy by Susan Verde. In addition to the story and read aloud, let's spotlight a few reflection ideas in case you're a parent or educator yourself. The picture book itself might stand alone as valuable in its own regard. We don't have to journal, we don't have to write about things afterwards, but if we want to, one great starting point is, what is empathy? How do we define the word empathy, and what does that look like in our words and actions? If things aren't going to get turned in, maybe we can get more personal. Can we ask students to identify a point in their life that they felt fearful or timid or shy, and when did they need the help from another human being in their life? Can students highlight a mistake in recent weeks or months, and who was there to help out? And if someone wasn't actually there in person or through text, who has been a role model for how to handle disappointment in life? When has there been a time when you needed to say I'm sorry to someone and genuinely mean it? How difficult was that apology and how did you feel afterwards? Or was there a time where you think you deserved an apology and you either got one or didn't? How did that make you feel as a human being? And of course, there's tons that we might be able to get to in terms of empathy and taking that farther with equality or equity and inclusion. For older students in particular, what's the difference between equality and equity? Also, can we bring up inclusion and celebration? Where have humans failed to put those into practice, either in history or in current events? And how can we apply these simple teachings of a children's story into our current lives and going forward as a human race? There's I Am Human, a book of empathy by Susan Verde. What did I miss? I'm sure there's some reflection ideas that I should have brought up. What are they? And also, what other titles do you use in your own teaching? Let us know. How can we supplement education and continue lifelong learning? What I'll make sure I do is put a link to this book in the YouTube description that you can check out right after watching. Stay tuned as I continue this series of children's picture books that I repurpose for the older students. As always, thanks for tuning in.